Yo, we back. This is the very next day. I got the whole situation figured out. I realized that I'm not supposed to put my camera at 50/50, with the ISO and shutter speed. I learned a little bit about that, but basically, man, today we're going to be talking about how I got saved, my testimony. But basically, man, we not gonna put too much details into this story, but we gonna just keep it brief, we're gonna try to keep it brief, cause it's it's it was a journey, what I'm saying. It's a long process, with everything. But basically, man, um, hold on, let me let him get out the car and stuff. As soon as I start recording, he wants to pull up. All right, man. Hopefully, what I'm saying. Hopefully everything is working. Everything is cool. Like I said, on this mic right here, I have a receiver for it, so I feel like they're not able to mess with it just because of that. With the other mic, I don't got a receiver, so probably I need to buy a receiver so that the connection is a little bit better. But I shouldn't need it, like I said. But I feel like with the receiver, it blocks them from like trying to, because if I have it like this, it's just Bluetooth. With the receiver, it goes to the receiver and into the phone. I'm not gonna, what I'm saying. I'm not trying to get sidetracked, but basically, today we're gonna be talking about how I got saved. And just to jump into it, man, this all started, and I gotta be careful. It's co-video. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, basically, like in the beginning of co-video, that's when all this started. And I had, like everybody, we had a lot of free time, and I'm the type of person, man, like I'm not really, I be knowing what be going on, so like I'm not too fearful. I'm not too scared of like certain situations when they come up. So out. I'm out. I'm outside. What I'm saying, having fun. All that. And I'm not worried about nothing. So basically, man, in this story, yeah, during that time, I was hanging out with these friends, and how I met them was really I went to like basically like three different elementary schools, but I met them my last year of elementary school. I had moved to a whole nother, town, and that's where I met these boys, and we were friends, you could say all the way until adulthood. But like, middle school, we was like the tightest, I would say, because, this is like our second year together and all that. But high school, that's kind of when we kind of like, everybody kind of split in a sense, and I had my own little group of friends, they had their own little group, but we all knew each other, you know what I'm saying? So we would sometimes, we had, you know, certain friends who will go to the other group, and then certain ones who will go to this group, but we just never put the group together because it would have been just too big. Basically, I don't know. It would have been chaos. So we just kind of separated. But yeah, man. And then probably like senior year, um, that's when I really didn't see them. You know what I'm saying? Because at that time, it's like, yeah, I don't know. That's when I started like really not seeing them, and basically like the only friends that I hung out with at that time, outside of school, was it was this like group, it was this family, right? And I was low key like kind of, I was really family with them, like that's who I hung out with. I literally was in that house more than my own house, so um basically, man, that's who I hung out with every single day, and it was a group of four brothers, and I was cool with all of them, and we'll name them by numbers. So one is the youngest, and then four is the oldest. Oh, there goes another eagle or something. Hold on, I want y'all to see. Oh, that ain't no eagle. I don't know. Oh no, that's a scavenger. We don't want them. To be honest though, scavengers. My bad, y'all. I was trying to show y'all. That's a scavenger, I think. Hold up, that's a scavenger. To be honest, we don't. I don't know. That ain't no eagle. But to be honest, scavengers are a part of the eagle family, I think. Anyways, man, boy, I be getting distracted so easily. Hold on, I be getting distracted so easy. It's not even funny. But anyways, yeah, I was close to this family, right? And they were low key like my second family. And basically, man, um, my old friends, right, from, middle school. I'll call them middle school friends because in high school I wasn't really, around them like that. But in middle school, that's who I hung out with. So I'll call them middle school friends. But basically, man, um, they started coming around, these brothers. And see, I was cool with number two, I was cool with all the brothers, but mainly number two. And they were, so when they started coming around, they would hang out with number three, you know? Um, and that's basically, since they were around them and all that, automatically I had to be, cool, like cool again with them in a sense. At first it was a little weird, because it's like I hadn't seen them in so long, you know, the more they came around, the more comfortable, I would say I got with them. Mind you, this is like when I'm 22, 23. Like like, yeah, it's been like 4 years or more or something like that, right? And and yeah, so it just happened, you know. So I become so cool with them again to the point where I start hanging out with them more than the brothers, and that's when everything, went downhill from there. I'm not gonna lie, that's when everything went downhill, So basically, man, again, this is like during COVIDio, when this is around that time when I started hanging out with them more, COVIDio. And, at the time, everyone was going through their own little things. See, me, I wanted to move, before they even came into the picture. Me and number two, we had a way older friend that we were going to basically, something happened with him and it got shut down. But we've been wanting to move, I've been wanting to move, So with these middle school friends, they had their own little situations going on, At the time, one was getting evicted, the other one was, splitting from his wife, the other one, he was living with his parents at the time, right? And he like, man, I'm trying to, I'm trying to move out. His situation cool though. I'm not gonna lie. Like he just, And I'll say this, man. If you have people around you, man, that support whatever you got going on, bro, the best thing you could do is stay at your crib and stack your bread, and then, do whatever, But if you're in a situation where you can't do nothing, you can't, live, you can't um aspire to, to be great, and you can't, you can't do nothing in that family household, then you can move. But like I feel like a lot of people, bro, especially in America, they just move out the parent just because they're like, oh, I'm at the age where I gotta move out. Nah, like save your money then move. If you're in a situation where, where your peoples are cool with helping you out and stuff. But yeah, man, so that's that. Like I said, they were going through their own little situations, and we came out with a plan. Like, hey, why don't we all, like, buy a house and we all live together, And to be honest, it would have been, it would have been cool. But I already knew kind of like what they on, See, I'm a person where I'm a, I'm a, I'm an extrovert, but I also could be introvert. But I choose to be an extrovert or an introvert most of the time. You know what I'm saying? And and I told him, like, hey, when we move in together, I'm gonna be on my grind. I got stuff that I'm trying to do. I already know y'all gonna wanna throw parties and all that, and I'm really not gonna be, too much in tune with all that. I'm gonna be to myself for like, I had a lot of goals, to reach, and I knew that when we moved together, I was gonna be able to, to achieve, if some of my goals at least, because I got some help, but and when I mean help is like, I'm not just paying everything on my own, my own apartment and all that, we're gonna split everything. But anyways, man, so like literally, we just waste our time. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Still recording. We just wasting our time, to be honest. What I mean by that is, you know, I'll come around them and all we do is smoke and drink. And then one time, it's like I woke up to all, like, It's like, man, I just wasted a whole year, pretty much. I'm like, hey, bro, we haven't made one move, like, Ah. So they like, oh, yeah, let's get on top of it. See, I'm telling y'all too much details, I feel like. But I'm not, but I am, because this could keep going too long. Anyways, man, so we get on it, I sign the papers, to get this, to try to get this new house and whatnot. And so one of these weeks, right, and I was going to Brett's house, and he lived, a state next to us. So me and Brett, these middle school friends that I really not cool with no more. It was three of them, and one lived across the state, and one lived, in my state, and then the other one was next to our state, and we used to travel, like 4 hours to that other state, because he's the one that was he had the crib at the time, that he was about to get kicked out. So every week we will go there and stuff like that. But this one week, I come back to my house, right? My sister's house, my brother-in-law's house, and that's who I lived with. That's who took care of me since I was 7. It was my sister. Yeah, I don't want to get too much details on all that, but that's who took care of me, man. And basically, this one week, I came back to the crib. All the doors were locked. You know what I'm saying? And basically, the last door that I checked was the garage, and it was open. And when I opened it, all my stuff was in there, and I'm not gonna lie, I was freaked out at first, because I thought that I was gonna have to move right then and there, like they were just packing my stuff for me to leave. Now they didn't know that I was gonna move out, but I was like kind of like breaking down. I had broken down one thing in my room, which was my desk. I had broken down because I'm getting ready to move soon, you know what I'm saying? So I gotta start breaking stuff down. But I never told them that I was gonna move. It was gonna be a thing where like they not even gonna know. Once the U-Haul is there, I'm gone, you know what I'm saying? But so yeah, so this one week everything is in the garage, right? And I was low key like my stomach dropped. I'm not gonna get into much details. I may get to some details in the future. I don't know, but yeah, man, all my stuff was on the floor or on, in the garage and everything. My bed. I'm not gonna lie, they did take care of all my stuff. Everything was neat. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that. They didn't just throw my stuff out there. Um, yeah, so like I said, I thought that I was gonna have to move out right then and there. But you know, but something made me look at the doorway and it was a note. And it was like, um, hey, Tato, we love you, but we just wanted to tell you that you're not welcomed in our home no more. You could stay in the garage for as long as you want. And in that moment, I jumped with joy. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I jumped with joy and I was happy, because I was like, they don't even know that I'm getting ready to move. Like, you know what I'm saying? So they just gave me a little place, you know what I'm saying, to keep my stuff in for the moment until I get the U-Haul and then move out to, you know what I'm saying, with all my friends. So, so yeah. So I tell my friends, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, and I show them a video. I'm like, hey, I got all my stuff in the garage. I'm not gonna lie. We all gotta, you know what I'm saying? We gotta make this move quick. So they like, oh, what happened, bruh? And I'm like, I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? They just threw all my stuff out. Or they threw all my stuff in the garage. You know what I'm saying? I can't come in no more. So they like, yeah, bro, like we gotta get this house quick. And I'm like, yeah, bro. So, see, the names that were gonna be on the crib was me and bruh's girlfriend. So they like, hey, we need this, we need you to get us this and this. And the whole time I'm like, yo, y'all should have been asked me that. Like see with my friends, it was a lot of red flags. I wasn't listening to my heart. I wasn't listening to my intuition. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of red flags in this whole thing that was going on. But, I'm low key kind of desperate, you know what I'm saying? That's like I've been wanting to move. So, you know, um, basically, man, it's like I know this truck is gonna be coming up here. I could hear it from down there. But anyways, man, yeah, man. So I'm like, yo, this whole time, like, they probably wasn't even, you know what I'm saying? That's another thing too, is I've never lived on my own, you know what I'm saying? Or I've never lived with anybody, I never had an apartment, but all of them did. They lived with their girls and all that. So like I'm basically looking for them to help me out. Oh, that's outside. That gotta be a scat pack. I'm not gonna lie, I could hear it from here. Anyways, man, so it's like, dang, bruh. Anyways, bruh, my bad. Anyways, so it's like I was looking for them to like kind of like, you know what I'm saying, help me out and stuff. And yeah, so I give them the information, right, so that we could get this crib. And the reason why I had to put my stuff down is because I had the best credit. Why he gonna look at me? I thought he was in the street, man. Oh yeah, he gonna park right there. I'm gonna keep talking, man. Man, these boy, chubby little white dude. um. Anyways, man. So yeah, I forgot where I was at. My bad. I'm trying to see who. He looked like a hacker. Anyways, man, that was the thing, right? So that's why I needed them to like, you know what I'm saying, kind of help me out, cause I've never, you know what I'm saying, signed up for no house, no apartment or anything like that. But 13 minutes, boy, I gotta hurry up a little bit. But anyways, man, so that's what happened, and yeah, so bro, like, hey, you forgot to sign one thing, and I should have never done this. Is it cool if I sign it? And I'm like, all right, go ahead, bro. Sign that last piece of paperwork. But like, I'm like, hey, bro, you know what I'm saying? Send me all the paperwork at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Make sure everything's signed right, right? He doesn't respond. So I waited for like a week. I responded, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, bro, this is a group chat, right? It's four of us, three of my friends, and then, you know what I'm saying, including me, four. So I'm like, hey, bro, you know what I'm saying? So this is the second week now. I'm in a garage for 2 weeks now. I'm like, hey, bro, you know what I'm saying? Is all the paperwork, you know what I'm saying? Is everything good? He doesn't respond. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna lie, in that moment, I knew I got played. I knew they were playing me. You know what I'm saying? So Man, it's a whole lot on the story. But basically, man, a week before I got put in this garage, right? I actually had received a job. So it was, if I'm telling you, if I did not have this job, nothing would have. I would have been stuck in there. You know what I'm saying? I would have been stuck in there. I'm not gonna lie, or homeless. I don't know, but basically, man. I had this job, and this boss, he literally came in at the right time, at the right place. Low key, I think he was an angel, to be honest, because, like I said, I didn't have a car at that moment. So, like, he allowed me to work as many hours as I needed, as I can, and, I basically, I racked up a lot of money within a short amount of time, and I was a security guard over there. And, and he had a lot of favor on me and stuff like that, so I was thankful. And one of these three friends, that lived next to me, he even saw me working there every day, you know what I'm saying? And he like, he knew I was, making a little bit of money and stuff like that. So he like, hey, bro, could you get me a job over there? Mind you, he's a snake low key in my life. But I kind of knew already that, what I'm saying, that even though I didn't know the word too much, I knew that, I still had to show love to these folks, you know what I'm saying, to these friends. I knew that I still, you know what I'm saying, because I ain't never been nothing but good to them, to be honest, For them to do me the way that they did me, I don't know why, you know what I'm saying, but they did it, you know. So, I talked to my boss, and then he gets hired, you know what I'm saying. I hire two other friends, mutual friends and all that, and and we worked together, for a whole, I was in my garage for what I started like the beginning of February, uh, so like 10 months. I was not in that garage for 10 months, you know what I'm saying, and um, basically, man, um, with that one friend though that I did hire that was part of the snake and whatnot, he's the one that called me and basically was like, hey bruh, one day he called me. This is like 2 months after, like I've been in the garage for 2 months. He like, hey bruh, bruh got a house. But I already knew that, what I'm saying, we was gonna move in. I already knew what he was gonna say before he even said it. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then he like, but guess what? I'm like, what? And then he like, oh yeah, Brad doesn't want us to move in with him. Da, 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 da. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? But like, he was kind of shocked. He was kind of silent. And that's when he asked me, what I'm saying, to work with me and all that. But, I said, yeah. He actually did me a favor at that moment by telling me, what I'm saying, all because they didn't have to tell me. He didn't have to tell me nothing. You know what I'm saying? I really wanted bruh, what I'm saying, bruh to tell me all this, but he never spoke to me at all, what I'm saying, until 2 weeks before I was about to move out to the other state, what I'm saying. He did, what I'm saying, call me, on some like fake stuff, but I was like, I did answer. What I'm saying, I I didn't have to answer, but I answered, you know what I'm saying? And but yeah. Anyways, man, while I was in that garage, that's the most important part, right? So, when I got that call, 2 months in the garage, when I got that call from that one friend, after three, you know, um, that's when I started. I'm not gonna lie, that's when I started getting into the word. At the same time, I'm not gonna lie, I started smoking weed again. I started smoking weed again, you know what I'm saying, to like kind of get my mind off everything. It didn't really help, but I just, you know what I'm saying, I was just smoking weed, But it didn't really help, man. But what really helped me was that word. See, I said this previously. Hold on, I'm gonna come up. I said this previously, man, that I did not know Jesus, And to be honest, it's the parents' fault. You know what I'm saying? It's our parents, it's the society, you know what I'm saying? Anywhere that you live in, we believe in all these stuff, you know what I'm saying, that ruins the relationship with God, you know what I'm saying? Santa Claus, this is a man that's not even real, but as kids we believe in him, right? And it kind of like takes away from Jesus in a sense, right? Because when we get older, we learn like Santa Claus is not real. But you know what I'm saying, as a kid, at least me or any other kid, we may look at Jesus like Santa Claus, right? We can't see Jesus, we can't touch Jesus, we can't, all these things. So what if Jesus is like Santa Claus, right? And that's the scary part about, about parents who teach their kids about all these mythical and stuff, and we all do it, right? All nations, when they come to whatever environment that they're in, they become like those people, and the children of Israel, since the beginning of time, we were told, do not become like the Egyptians, do not become like the Samaritans, do not become like the Philistines, do not become like any nation that, God sent us to go there, God will punish us, send us to this nation. God will tell us, do not become like these nations. But you had some folks who became integrated with, these other people and stuff like that. But I say that, man, to just like, that's why, to be honest, kids do not, know Jesus like how they should, is because of the older people, who we have around us and stuff like that, teaching us all these things. But I just got sidetracked. But yeah, man, where was I at? I gotta think now, boy. Hold on. Oh yeah. So I used to think Moses, right? The life of Moses was the life of Jesus. So I really did not know Jesus like that. So I started reading the word, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start in the beginning because I've never really read the word like that. I done read probably 20 pages before, 2020. So I'm like, man, I gotta get into the word. I start reading, Genesis. I'm thinking the whole book is about Jesus, which it is, right? See, in the Old Testament, you will see Jesus. You'll find Jesus if you know. But I was, but I didn't know that, if I really wanted to, like, see the name Jesus, I had to, or you could see the name Jesus in the Old Testament, but, Jesus in the flesh is in the New Testament, right? So I didn't know that at the time, right? So I'm like, man, let me just look up on YouTube everything about Jesus. And that's what I started doing, while I'm in this garage and while working too. Like, I was a patrol officer, so I'll have, I'll have the word just playing and stuff like that. And I was just watching YouTube every day, nothing about Jesus, and by the time, another like month passed or two, I pretty much felt like I knew everything about Jesus, I done watched every video that I could watch about Jesus, to the point one day, this is around like, I'll say May, around May or like June, my bad, y'all, May or June, I'm in the crib, and I'm just filled with joy, because, I know who Jesus is now, and I started playing gospel, I started dancing and stuff like that, and when I got done dancing and stuff, I broke down, and basically was just crying, but I'm crying out of joy, By the way, the whole time I'm learning about Jesus, who he is, and the things that he went through, being crucified and the betrayals and all that, I felt that pain, I felt that pain, and in that moment, I knew that he felt my pain, and this is in the word too, later on, and, of course, later on in life, I read the word for real, and I learn all these things, right? But in that moment, like I'm saying, like I feel his pain, and I'm like, man, if I feel his pain, I know he feels my pain, and that's the connection right there. That was a connection, the bond between me and Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And that's what, you know what I'm saying, the connection with God should be, right? What Jesus should be. It should be a connection where, you know what I'm saying, like I can't really explain it. If you know, you know. But in that moment, like I said, I started breaking down, and I started, you know what I'm saying, crying and then praying, you know, and I basically was just like, everything was positive, everything was good, you know what I'm saying. I was just focused on the good, you know what I'm saying. I was thankful, you know what I'm saying. In that moment, like I said, this, or I didn't say this, but this was like the worst times of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm from Africa, right? And my sister will, if she heard this, she will get mad because she like, I'm, you know what I'm saying, where I come from, right? She'll be like, but you gotta understand, in Africa, it's family. Anywhere in the world, man, where it's poverty and all that, at least, you know what I'm saying, them folks that got, you know what I'm saying, it's like, we're all in this together, you know what I'm saying. In that moment, I felt isolated. I felt alone. I felt, you know what I'm saying? So, no, I was not good. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest, you know, you know, like, it was through God, you know, I was able to really, like, you know, because, I could have, you know, lost my mind. I could have went crazy, you know, but I stayed strong, you know, and I thank God for that. And that's just for anybody, man. Like, you know, just if you got God, you got, you know, you good. But anyways, man, yeah, so, you know, like I said, I'm praying, I'm saying everything good, you know what I'm saying? It was a long prayer, one of the longest prayers I've ever had, right? And in that moment, I felt I felt in my spirit, you know what I'm saying, to look up for whatever reason, and a portal like opened up before my eyes, you know what I'm saying? And his name was, I think it's an X or John. His name is Stephen or Steph. I think he goes by Stephen, right? And this is like the time where Paul is there, or Saul, I should say. Saul is there, and I think he's a little kid at the time, or he young. And they're basically, you know, all the older folks are they're about to crucify Stephen, and a portal opens up, right? And this is later on when I'm learning all this, right? But I would say, like, it was like one of them times, you know what I'm saying? One of them types of situations. A portal opens up, and I'm gonna talk a lot about this, man. There's stuff in this world where we've never learned, we've never been taught, and I'm telling you. But a portal opens up, right? And mind you, I'm in a garage, right? There's a ceiling, but like, you know what I'm saying, the ceiling was gone, and all I see is gold and yellow hues, right? And I feel like, I'm like, man, you know, I'm on the ground right now, and I'm looking up, you know, but I'm like, man, I want to lay down in my bed and kind of like just look at this. Like, I don't know what I'm seeing, but I'm just like, I gotta lay down. I'm thinking I'm tripping. I gotta lay down and just watch all this, right? So I get up, and I feel weak though. I feel very weak, you know what I'm saying? And it was kind of like, I don't know, it's like my body and my spirit were kind of like separating, right? So it's a weird feeling because I can't explain it, but I feel weak, right? But I'm walking towards my bed, and I just like, you know, I lay down and I'm looking up at the ceiling, you know what I'm saying, at this portal. And, you know, and I start lifting up, but it was like kind of quick, right? I start lifting up, and I teleport in God's, it's teleport. I teleport in God's kingdom. Now, I don't know if this was a out-of-body experience, or if my body actually went up. I don't know. But, you know what I'm saying, because I wasn't looking down. I was focused on the portal. And when I got into God's kingdom, I seen Jesus, you know what I'm saying? It was a bright light, you know what I'm saying? It was a bright light, but it was a figure, you know what I'm saying? And I knew it was Jesus. I felt in my spirit it was Jesus. Now, at that time, I was the type of person, man, where, I was kind of into the whole Jesus is not, Jesus' real name, the Son of God, that's not his real name, and stuff like that. But that's what I called him. As soon as I seen him, I said Jesus. Now, for those of y'all who do want to call him different names, it's fine. You know what I'm saying? To be honest, it was a spirit that I seen, right? It was a spirit. So if you want to call him the King, if you want to call him Yeshua, Jehovah, whatever you want to call him, he's fine with it. But for me, I called him Jesus. You know what I'm saying? That's what came out my mouth. Even though at that time I was thinking, yeah. But anyways, man, so I'm looking at Jesus, right? And I'm focused on Jesus. And, I'm Jesus, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying his name, right? And there's people around me on both sides. And I could hear clapping, right? I could hear like cheering, and I start singing. Now, this song I've never sung in my life, but it's in the word. You know what I'm saying? It's in the word. Now I'm gonna put these scriptures up above y'all so y'all can read on it. But this is what I'm experiencing, right? I'm saying this song that I've never heard. I'm singing this song that I've never heard. But it was a beautiful song, you know what I'm saying? I can't recite it because I don't remember it. But I remember singing this song, man, and basically I break down again after I sing it, and I could hear the cheering and the clapping again, you know what I'm saying? And I look up again. I feel the urge to look up. And I know this kind of, it's kind of off script. This doesn't tie in with, it doesn't fit with scripture, but you know what I'm saying? So Jesus is on my right hand, right? And I see God on my left hand. So if Jesus is sitting down, God appears on his right hand, which is kind of like not scripture, right? But how I kind of always kind of looked at it, it was, like I keep saying Jesus is God and God is Jesus, you know what I'm saying? So they're one in a sense. So in the Bible it says too, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, you know what I'm saying? So I know that it's not scripture what I'm saying as far as Jesus being on my right hand and God on my left, but that's how I seen it, and I knew it was God. I said, God, God had, I don't know what it was, but God's presence was kind of intense, Jesus and God are the same, but I don't know why I was just like, man, God, And I want to say I cried again. I want to say I was crying again, in the kingdom. And basically, man, I ended up standing up, and now I was speaking to God. Now, I was speaking to God, and I told him, I said, God, you know what I'm saying? Now I wasn't speaking out, and it was like an internal like telepathy, I think it's called, right? It was speaking through the mind. I don't know what I just heard. I was speaking through the mind, right? And still on. I was speaking through the mind, and I basically, was telling God, like, can I stay here, can I stay here? I don't know if my body's down over there, but you could kill that body. I don't even want to go. I'm in a situation where I don't even think I can make it out, you know what I'm saying? So I don't even want to go back down there, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I was kind of telling God. But, saying he spoke to me, or I don't want to say he spoke to me or put words in God's mouth, but this was in my head. This is what I got in my head, right? And it wasn't like a internal voice that went into my head. It was literally inside voice, right? And it was basically like, you got work to do. And as soon as, I heard that, everything closed down like one of them old TV screens that just shuts down. That's how it was. And now when I went up, You know what I'm saying? I seen the portal and I teleported. But when I went down, I was able to see a little bit more, right? But I didn't see the hues no more. But what I did see were these three angels. You know what I'm saying? I was confused whether it was three or four, but they were huge angels, you know what I'm saying? And they had a sword and they were just standing like this, huge, you know what I'm saying? Now, I wasn't scared of them because, you know, I wasn't scared of them because I kind of knew like they wasn't gonna attack me or hurt me or anything. But you know, you know what I'm saying, you could feel their presence. You know what I'm saying? It was very like I can't even explain it. But I wasn't scared though. But like I was like, man, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. So I drop, you know, or I don't drop. I get, you know, descended down. You know what I'm saying? Back to my bed, you know. And I remember in that moment, you know, I was just like, man, like I had this energy that I've never had before. And you know, later that day, I did have work. You know what I'm saying? But as soon as I stepped out of, you know, as soon as I stepped out the garage, you know what I'm saying, there was this dove that flew away. And you could, you know what I'm saying, you could always hear a dove and just how they sound. But I seen in the corner of my eye, you know what I'm saying, just flying away. And there was a feather that like fell down, you know what I'm saying, and I caught it and I saved it. I don't know where I put that feather, but I saved it. And I had it all the way to this state. But yeah, man, that was my experience of getting saved, man. And in that job too, my boss, you know what I'm saying, his name, my boss, saw my, like how happy my spirit was, and you know what I'm saying. And he's like, man, you seem like you in a bright mood, like your mood seems different, you know what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah, you know, I didn't tell him what had happened, but you know what I'm saying, he knew, you know what I'm saying, he could see it in me. And one strange thing though, you know, and this was like this for like 2 weeks though. Like I felt this power, this energy for like 2 weeks. But I remember there was this one old lady, you know what I'm saying, that pulled up and she looked at me and her eyes got huge and she just drove away, right? I'm working at a gated community. I don't know. I had to open up the gate. But I don't know what that was about, but I remember that too at that moment. But yeah, man, that was my experience, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, you know, I was still in the garage for another 4 or 5 months, you know. But in that time, man, it will get on too much details. That's all I had to tell y'all, man. But, you know, after that, I ended up having enough money to get a car and move to a whole nother state, man. But that's my testimony, man, on how I got saved. And I do, you know what I'm saying, want to tell y'all that, you know, yes, blessed are the poor, blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are the persecuted, blessed are the meek, you know what I'm saying, blessed are all these people, right? You know what I'm saying? But, you know what I'm saying, that's, you know what I'm saying, those are not the only people that get saved, of course, you know what I'm saying? You could be rich and get saved. It's just a lot harder. You know, if you're a billionaire, you know, you gotta understand, if God was to come down and like, hey, you know, you wanna come to heaven? A billionaire would probably be like, you know, can I stay down here for a little bit more? You know what I'm saying? Or can I, you know, you know, so it's a little harder, you know. And I'm gonna speak on this, man, but I don't know if I said it before, but or I did say it in the last video yesterday, but the walk with God is not easy. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you know, you're going to have to leave everything behind. You know what I'm saying? What did Jesus tell his disciples? Leave everything behind you and come follow me. You know, some people may not be able to let go of materialistic stuff that, you know, I was just blessed at the time. You heard that person yelling? Man, these people be tripping. But yeah, you know, I was blessed at the time where I didn't have a good job. I didn't, you know what I'm saying, have this and that, you know what I'm saying? So it was easy for me to let go, and I'm grateful for that, you know? So you gotta understand, like, people in the streets, people that are poor, it's easy for them, you know what I'm saying? Or people in other countries that, you know what I'm saying, wanna be with God and worship God, it's easy, it's gonna be easy for them to follow God, right? But you gotta understand those who have everything on earth, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot harder to follow God. I do want to also tell y'all, man, that the earth is for His people. The earth is ours. The whole earth was promised to Abraham. The whole earth was promised to Israel. The whole earth was promised to Adam. It's just the enemy tricked him into, the enemy tricked him. And we gonna cover all this, man. All this is gonna come back around, and I don't want to keep y'all too long, man, but that's the video, y'all. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it, man. And one more thing, I'm sorry. This is where I was going with it, right? Even though I got saved through pain, it's not like that for everybody. You could get saved in good times, you know what I'm saying? And that's even more of a blessing, right? Getting saved while, you know what I'm saying, you're joyful and all that. That's even better, you know what I'm saying? But because God doesn't want us truly to go through pain and stuff like that. But you gotta understand, when you don't got nobody on your side to cry on, to lean on, to support you, to this and to that, it's easy to be like, man, I give my life to God, you know, and that's what I did. You know, I gave my life to God, and He got me out my situation, out my hole, and yeah. So yeah, man. Wherever you at, I pray that you have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, and a good night. And without further ado, man, it's been a video, and I'll see y'all when I see y'all.